Hello, and welcome to Monday Morning Monkin, I think is what we're calling this new podcast. I am Grep, and I'm here with Ryan and Tip, and we're going to talk about why we don't like JoJo, except we really do. Say hello, guys.
Hello, this is Ryan. I have nothing against JoJo.
Of course, that's how you start. I'm Tip, and we're about to just trash this entire series.
Yeah, so I also have nothing against JoJo. Tip is really the only one that has a big problem with it. Yeah, actually, you have a big problem with shonens in general, don't you?
I mean, shonens, yeah, can be, formulaic, which is a bit of an understatement.
You know what's funny is I never even would have considered JoJo to be a shonen. Like, I when I think about it, it is, but I've never even thought in my head, oh yeah, I'm watching a shonen right now.
What do you consider a shonen? I thought it's just dude gets strong, yells a lot, power of friendship.
Well, the
sometimes.
thing about JoJo is that they're already strong.
They get stronger.
No, they don't. Unless you're talking parts 1 and 2. Jotaro is already peak strong.
So Jotaro at the beginning of Arc 3 to the end of Arc 3, he can stop time at the end of Arc 3. Oh yeah, by the way, spoilers.
Okay. Yeah, he gains one last burst of time stopping in the very last arc.
Yeah, it's all world though.
Hang on. Really quick spoiler warning for literally all of JoJo. So if you haven't watched all of JoJo, maybe you should stop listening.
Probably not part 6 and beyond.
Well, yeah, but that hasn't been animated yet. And if it's not an anime, it's worthless.
But anime is worthless.
Well, yeah, both, obviously.
I did start reading part 6, but because I hear that part 7 and 8 are just so whack, and I have to know what's going on in that.
You won't.
And I don't want to wait for the anime.
I know that he's got a horse in 7, so that's pretty rad.
Yeah, I know it's called. I know there's horses and balls.
And a president.
Those may or may not be associated. And the president of the United States. Anyways, Tyler, give us your rundown on why you hate JoJo.
Why is JoJo bad? Give the viewers what they want.
So, JoJo is bad because Part 3 exists. And I know everyone says that Part 3 is the best part, and those people are idiots.
It's not.
And you can tell them that they're wrong because you listen to me, an idiot.
A JoJo professional.
A professional connoisseur of bad media, which is anime.
We watched Part 3 together 4 times, I think, right?
We did.
4 times?
Part of my reason why I don't like it that much.
Yeah, so we watched it together, and then we had to rewatch it because we watched it without Frankie.
Yes.
And then we rewatched it again at other Tyler's place.
Yes.
And then I think we just had episodes on in the background when I was watching with Taylor.
That's exactly it, yeah. So,
well, as a disclaimer, I've only watched it twice. Only watched it twice.
Watched it twice.
I'm a fake JoJo fan. I've only watched it twice.
No, I mean, the community basically says all the time to skip parts 1 and 2, which is dumb for multiple reasons. But the big one is part 3 has Dio, and the whole conflict is about Dio and the Joestar family. If you just start with part 3, you have no reason to care about that conflict, and parts 1 and 2 are all about that conflict and why the Joestars are cool and interesting and, bizarre. So if you don't have any of that, part 3 doesn't matter.
Also,
and
part 1 is 7 episodes.
Yeah, if you can't watch 7 episodes of 20 minutes, I mean, is your time worth that much, really? I don't believe it.
Part 1 and 2 are combined into one season, at least on Crunchyroll it is.
I mean, it's combined into one season everywhere.
Just out of curiosity, how would you, what is your rankings and from favorite to least favorite for each part?
That we've seen so far?
Yes, from 1 to, I guess from 1 to 5, or if you haven't seen 5, then 1 to 4.
So for me, 4 and 2 are tied at the top, because 2 has the best character. Joseph Joestar is hilarious. It has a bunch of, it actually has a cohesive story, unlike a bunch of the filler that's in part 3 and 4, and 5, I guess. But part 4 is just so colorful and wacky. I love it. I love Morio. I love, all the stands have really weird powers, which is kind of different from part 3 when they were just kind of getting introduced. But that's just my opinion. And then I guess I like part 3, and I still kind of have to finish the end of 5. I just kind of dropped off in the middle of 5.
Where was part 1 in that?
I guess at the end. I mean, don't get me wrong. I like part 1, but it's kind of
so
slow.
It's 4 and 2 are tied for top. Then
yeah, but for different reasons.
Yeah. Tip.
I mean, I could see that. I mean, 2 is my favorite, and by favorite I mean it's at the top of the mountain, and it's at the top of the mountain. Like nothing's going to surpass that, and everyone else is just struggling to even get like onto the mountain. Like it's just part 2 is so good that the rest of JoJo pales in comparison, and nothing will ever reach those highs, just because of like the fun fights, the animation style, like the weird just changes in color, where it just inverts the entire like color scheme for the scene. Joseph is hilarious, and everything he does is just interesting. So part 2 is just, it's so good. After that, but I mean Caesar's fun too. It's just I meant more like for the Joes, the JoJos. I just think he's a lot of fun. And then after that, I'd say part 4. Because part 4 is a lot of fun with the premise as well. And then parts 1 and 5 are kind of tied for me. I think 1 is the tighter storyline, but 5 just has a lot of fun characters and fights. And then 3 is in hell where it belongs. It doesn't get anywhere near it. So, you know.
I think 3 has a lot of individual episodes going for it. Like, if you were watching this on a weekly basis and you kind of weren't caring, I mean, I guess you weren't caring too much about the story, but like you just were watching it on a week-to-week basis for the entertainment value. Like, they each have really good self-contained little mini stories within different parts of the world. And you get to see a bunch of the different areas of the world that you don't really get to see in anime, like India and
yeah. In my opinion, I think I just rewatched part 3 with some other friends, and watching it again has made me appreciate it more. But you could really just watch like the beginning couple of arcs of part 3 and the last, and then the end, and you're good.
100%
but I will say,
story.
But some of the fights that towards the end, once they're in Egypt, I think are some of the best ones. I like the ones with the Darby brothers, the gambling one and the video game one in particular. I think those are fun.
Direct your cur.
Yeah.
Kills me every time.
Yeah, if I were to rank mine, I would say
the English dub is useless. You have to go for
every
dub.
Every time one of us would show up late to JoJo night, as punishment, we had to watch at least one episode dubbed, and it was the worst thing. It was so bad. Yeah, no, the dub is I mean, based off of the couple of episodes I've seen, it's not been great.
It's not terrible.
But yeah, I would rank it. I usually say part 4 is my favorite, followed by part 2. And part 4 and part 2 are pretty like. Part 2 is not far behind part 4 for me. And then I would probably say part 5, and then part 1, and then part 3.
The whole ending sequence of 2, where he's falling from the sky on the big rock, is awesome.
The volcano? The volcano fight and then getting blasted into space is so over the top. Like,
Joseph is definitely my favorite Joestar, though.
Huh?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like by far. Like,
well, he also has the most screen time.
Well, part 2 Joseph is the best Joestar.
I like him in part 3 as well. He's pretty funny in part 3.
Part 3 Joseph also is second place best Joestar.
And he's just an old man in 4. It's like senile.
It really was a shame to me how Joseph he is a completely different character in each arc.
Yeah, that is weird.
Like, he carries the name, and like that's it. Like, even his powers like change each friggin' season.
He develops a stand, and then he. What is this thing for? It's like it's the same thing. It's Hermit Purple still, but it can do other things.
Yeah.
Well, he's just going senile, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, like it goes haywire, right? Where it'll just like kind of like do whatever it wants, and they have to deal with the ramifications of that. And they're like, "Oh, that old man! Darn it!"
That old man.
Yeah, but he fucks.
And then he got and then he got regulated to babysitting.
I mean, did you see Josuke's mom?
Yes, I have.
Honestly.
Everybody
The
has.
man's not wrong.
We do not condone cheating on your wife here.
No, we don't.
That's my only problem with Joseph. My man had to go out and be
theoretically, theoretically, that if you did that, it would create Josuke, who would go on to save the town.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Is it justified?
I don't think Josuke saves the town. What's wrong with you? Josuke doesn't save the town. That ambulance saves the town.
Okay. Sure.
Josuke just kind of happens to be there, and the ambulance is like, whoops, hit your face.
You know what peeves me? How much Jotaro declines between 3 and 4. Like, he can't stop time more. Like, why wouldn't you keep training?
Well, he just
I guess he's too proud, or I guess he's too noble or honorable.
He was they kind of, you'll find this Araki, I think is his name.
Yeah, Araki.
He kind of like, yeah, he kind of has this problem of like
Araki.
introducing a character and then making them too strong to the point where or giving them a power that he doesn't really know what to do with after he's introduced it, but now they're part of the cast, so he can't like get rid of them.
You wouldn't be talking about
Like,
Zahando, would you?
I actually wasn't talking about Zahando. I was talking about Zahando is another great example, but in part five, there's a character who literally is part of the squad for like the first half of the show. You see his stand one time, and it's like, it's ridiculous.
Which one is that?
And then you never. I don't remember what the name is because it showed up one time, and I couldn't tell you what the name is.
Where he's like retracing the past, or whatever.
No.
Are you talking about Fugo? Fugo, right?
It's the guy with the Swiss cheese shirt.
Yeah, Fugo.
Yeah,
he has poor boy into a cheese.
with the berserker stand, like he has one arc where his stand shows up, and they're like, okay, I don't know what to do with him anymore, so he's just gonna leave. And then I was waiting for like, okay, so if this is any other show, Fugo's gonna show up in like the last arc and save the day at the last minute. It's gonna be epic, and that super didn't happen. He's gone. I was waiting for him to come back, and he just never does. And I was like, wow, they really just wrote him out of the show.
I believe Argy said it, that the reason why he didn't do that is he realized very quickly that they would have the team at odds with themselves, like specifically with Fugo, because he says he doesn't want to join them, and he didn't want to have the Joestar team infighting because they'd basically have to kill Fugo because obviously he would come back and go after them, and he thought like it would be a little bit too dark to just have them straight up murder their friend and be like, well, if we don't kill him now, he'll come after us later. So he sort of just hopes that you forget about it. And this is even made worse by the fact that Giorno even makes the vaccine, like in Fugo's little arc where he fights the guy in the mirror. Giorno makes a vaccine to that like virus that the Berserker guy does. And you're like, oh man, that's like Chekhov's gun. They're definitely going to use that vaccine later. And it's because he was going to use it so that Giorno saves the team after they get infected, after they just straight up murder Fugo. And he's like, hang on a second. Maybe I shouldn't do this. They just wave goodbye on the boat and you never see him again.
His plan was really just to kill was to have like a super dark arc with Fugo? I didn't realize that.
Yeah, so this like spreads in the community a lot, that the reason why Fugo isn't in it is because Araki didn't realize how powerful he made Fugo's stands and that he wasn't sure how to use it. That's kind of like a misnomer. That's part of it, but it was more just he realized that he couldn't have him in the story, and so he's like, well, how do I write this character out of the story? Obviously, you just kind of kill him. And then he's like, ugh. After thinking about that for a while, he's like, man, that's pretty dark. Maybe I shouldn't do that. The community would be kind of upset with me.
Him.
He just ghosts.
Man, professional status.
Yeah.
Speaking of rumors, there was a huge fan theory that Whole Horse was supposed to be like the other, what did they call them? Stardust Crusaders?
Yeah.
In part 3.
Yeah.
And he kind of it looked like he was going to become an ally kind of at the end there, but they kind of just didn't do that.
I mean,
he's like one of the few JoJo villains that like shows up more than like once, really.
Yeah,
like,
he shows up.
I mean, most of the time.
And then also, there's this weird thing in the one of the openings where they show like all this, like they show like 5 stars shooting across the sky, and then they show like this one other star at the very edge of the screen also shooting, and people were theorizing, man, that's gotta be another friendo, and they thought it was friendo.
Isn't it Iggy? Isn't that who it's supposed to be?
Oh, you know what? It probably is Iggy. I'm the big stupid. Oh.
I know what you're talking about, though, because I've heard that theory where they're like, oh, Whole Horse is the actual secret, 7th member, 8th member?
I forget about Iggy and his stupid human face.
Well, that could have just been like, obviously at the point they were making the anime, they already knew exactly what's going to happen because the manga had been written. So now,
that's
maybe back during the manga point, that was the plan, but he changed it.
I mean, Whole Horse is more of a crusader than, I don't know, Avdol or Iggy, because neither doesn't really do anything.
Avdol had to die twice.
It's really funny to me. It's really funny to me how they constantly just like sideline like a character. So like Avdol dies and he's just off the table for a while, and then Kakyoin gets like blinded and put in the hospital for like even longer.
Yeah, but then he got cool.
And then he just shows up at like the very end again. It's like
then they turn that poor boy into a donut.
That's right.
What my emeralds.
Watching through part 3 was really like so eye-opening to me on how inconsistent Kakyoin's powers are. Like he has a completely different power set when they introduce him, and he never uses like any of those ever again after he joins them. Like he just uses Emerald Splash and that's it.
My Emerald Splash never misses and proceeds to miss like 95% of the time.
Well, he possesses that nurse at the beginning, doesn't he? Like, doesn't he actually have his hand inside her and like goes to kill Jotaro with it?
Maybe
he can like
bad.
puppeteer
he
people.
Want to be bad.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? He made the baby eat the poo-poo, so
yeah.
Clearly, this man does not have the moral high ground.
I hated that arc. That was so bad. They made it 2 parts. Going towards
the end,
they started making most of the arcs 2-episode parts, and they really didn't need to be.
Oh, the pacing dies there.
It dies as soon as they're about to get to Egypt and from Egypt on. But if the single episode where they're just visiting random places, I liked a lot. Especially when they're in the one Indian place and they see the pig in the toilet or whatever. It was cool.
Yeah.
That's,
I don't know.
That's a definitive JoJo moment.
The menacing toilet.
I think part 3 is just too long. Like, I get what he was doing, where he wanted to introduce, like, because he introduces the whole stand system, and it's like all these different powers, like, oh, here's all the cool fights I can do, and that's nice, but he goes too far with it, where every episode is like a new person, new stands, they have a fight, and it's all filler, and it's like, I get it's a Monster of the Week type situation, like, oh, who will they meet this time? Like, oh, this must be the work of an enemy stand user, but it drags on forever.
I like that they were tying stands to tarot cards in a way. I don't know how close they were relating to their actual tarot meaning, but I wish they kind of went further with that. And then they
gave up on that as soon as they got to Egypt.
All like musicians, like every other character in the game.
Well, they give up on it because they kind of run out of the major arcana, and then that's when they start doing the Egyptian gods and goddesses once they get to Egypt.
Just do what Persona 5 did and make up your own arcanas.
Yeah.
The whatever it was called, Arcana.
Oh, for Royal.
Not Justice. Frick. What was it called? Oh. It was like Hope or something.
Don't remember what it was. For Kasumi, right?
For Kasumi, and then the Counselor for Maruki.
Yeah.
I think it might have literally been Counselor, but I don't remember.
Le Counselor. It was French.
That's one of the things, though, talking about the Monster of the Week's issue is part of one of the reasons why I like Part 4 more, because it felt like that was a little less... For the first half, it definitely is Monster of the Week kind of thing, but as we start getting into the second half, it felt like it started having much more of an overarching plot, even if there were still Monster of the Week elements to it, but...
Well, they made friends with most of the people. They didn't really kill anybody. They made friends with everybody. What I was hoping they were
everyone
going to do in
joins their
part 4
posse.
is at the end, the whole town would come together to stop the killer. Because the whole theming of part 4 is like, oh, this is a small town. We're all kind of connected and friends here. But they didn't really do that. And I think they missed a huge opportunity, especially because they were making friends along the way. Because they had a lot of people.
Thought about that. The whole town coming together. That would have been really
been
cool
sweet.
plot point. Yeah.
It definitely seems like one of those things where you look at it and there's no way that wasn't the plan, right? Because that just seems like
it's too
so obvious. And but it just was like that. I don't feel like doing that anymore. Because he seems to just change his mind on a whim while he's in the middle, like an arc, and he doesn't care if that like ruins his plans.
Whatever he likes drawing, he does it.
I'm curious to see what the newest arc is doing story-wise, because I don't know anything about it other than the fact that the stand name is like soft and wet, which makes me uncomfortable in so many ways.
You mean
is that part 8?
That's part 8, yeah.
Part 8.
Okay.
It's soft and wet.
He what does he do? He like steals people's attributes or something.
Like, it gets
whatever that means.
More convoluted because try to get people to explain, like, ask any random JoJo fan how Giorno's stand works, and you'll get a lot of people like, okay, and then get them to like understand what part 8's JoJo stand does, and they'll be like, yeah. So it just keeps getting more and more convoluted.
What does Jolynn's do? Does anybody know? Do you know?
Oh, I have no idea.
She has she can like unravel her body into like string, so she can like do in every arc. She does something different with it, of course, but like she's just able to use that to like prevent herself from like if she gets wounded, she can like heal herself with that, or she can like use the string to like detect enemies, or like pull things closer to her, or stuff like that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That sounds really lame on paper, but I'm sure there's a lot of. At least there seems like a lot of uses for that.
Yeah,
I like
when I think about it.
Like Bucciarati. Yeah, Zipper Man.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
The zippers. I like the zippers. Do a lot of cool things. Just tear a hole in reality. Just
he
people's
uses
arms off.
Yeah, he uses it to great effects, like in all the fights, and even
cool.
just in general like exploration and them just trying to figure out what's going on. Like he's one of the few characters in JoJo that uses his ability really, really well, and they actually use it.
Yeah, you feel like you constantly are like, why didn't this person just use their stand ability at this point? But I don't remember thinking that with Zipper Man at any point, because it seems like he actually knows what he's doing most of the time.
Actually, I'd say everyone in Part 5 does that pretty well. They utilize their stand's abilities really often, and they actually utilize them well within fights and within like trying to figure out who the leader is. They don't really feel underbaked, which is kind of an issue I have with parts 3 and 4, where sometimes they have cool abilities, or sometimes they have stands that would be really useful in a situation. Like, I don't know, being able to just delete things whenever you want.
Delete matter.
Yeah, and a hand that just deletes things, and it's like, nope, not gonna use it.
Well, like, when was it? When they were stuck in the pylon or whatever?
When they're stuck in anything, or stuck doing
in anything,
or when they can't catch up to someone. Like one of the first things that OQC ever does is swipe it through the air, and he teleports to Josuke, and he never uses that like ever again. And that's so cool. Why don't you use that?
That's so sad. It's like top 10 anime betrayals.
It is.
Speaking of powers, how do you guys feel about Hamon?
What?
The breath energy from parts 1 and 2. Hamon.
I don't remember that.
Hamon.
They go.
Yeah, they breathe really.
They breathe and they get like
really hard.
Their fingers start glowing, or whatever they do start glowing, and they can walk on water or whatever.
Yeah.
You don't remember that, Ryan? That was like the entire thing.
No,
they had a whole training arc where they have to.
Because they just drop it immediately. Because they forget about it. They just drop that immediately. As soon as stands show up. I actually will say,
climbs up the water.
I'll give them a little bit of credit, because they actually. I thought, from what I remember from part 3, I was like, wow. Part 3 hits. They introduce stands and Hamon. Garbage out the door. We don't talk about that anymore. And I was actually like, oh, actually they do bring up Hamon from time to time. They didn't completely forget about it. Joseph even like pulls it out at one point when he's fighting Dio in the last arc. He like wraps himself in Hamon and tries to bait Dio into hitting him.
It was like,
I was like, oh, wow, they actually remembered that Hamon exists. And then part 4 comes, and then they completely forget about Hamon.
I mean, yeah.
I like Hamon. I thought that was a cool concept. It wasn't as... I guess it was...
They definitely couldn't have made 8 arcs out of it.
It wasn't as unrealistic as having a ghost man come out of you and do whatever the heck you feel like.
Yeah, it just was kind of limited because Hamon... I guess they could have just kept giving Hamon new abilities, but...
Well, that's just Hamon whip rope. That's what
one thing
purple could have been. They didn't have to give him a stand.
Yeah, the one thing that drove me nuts about in part 3 was during that Darby arc where they're like they're gambling and stuff, playing games. Yeah, it was one of the best ones. But there's a scene where they did nothing, where Joseph has to like put coins into like a shot glass without like any water spilling. And I'm like, man, if only we had an ability that could, like, keep water in a cup. Even if you, like, flipped it upside down. That'd have been really useful in that
third episode of the entire show.
I mean, I do like that Darby fight, I guess. I wouldn't even call it a fight because
it was a mental fight.
Yeah, it's like the test of wills, and each of them knows that the other is cheating, and they're like cheating to make up the other characters cheating, like look more like cheating. And they're so like it's like 8 layers of them cheating against each other.
Wait, no, Jojo wasn't cheating though. He was just staring intensely, which makes me very uncomfortable because I hate it when people look at me in the eyes.
Joseph totally cheats for the shot glass thing with Darby, and then Darby's also cheating.
Oh wait, yeah.
Like that's the whole point is they're both cheating really hard, and then Darby ends up out cheating him because of course.
Hey, cheated, you're cheating.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then with Jotaro technically doesn't cheat. He like does things with his stand to make Darby think he's cheating, but he actually doesn't ever do anything.
Yeah, sorry, that's what I meant. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a fun little mind game episode.
Which I guess is what Jotaro is supposed to be doing in like all of his fights. He does little mind games, except he doesn't have to do those mind games because Star Platinum's so wildly busted that he just punches people in the face and wins anyway. So what's the point of mind games?
They bring that up in part 6 constantly, that Jotaro like canonically has the strongest stand like in existence. And they'll remind you of that constantly, like, yes, Jotaro's stand, the strongest of them all. Like it's like, all right, guys.
Yeah, he can't do anything.
Don't break your hand jerking yourself off.
Don't break your wrist, dude.
I gotta say though, my favorite part of 4 is when Jotaro was actually training Josuke to do stuff. When they were out and like killing stuff with like their stands and stuff.
You mean when they get attacked by rats? The rat?
They get with a plague.
The rat arc.
The rat arc. So yeah, don't get me okay. So the first part of the rat arc where they're actually training is pretty cool, and then the actual rats is pretty lame. So I guess it's half and half.
Yeah, it always kills me when they make something that isn't a human a stand user.
I like the bird.
Pet Shop stand and his abilities. That fight with Iggy is unironically like my favorite fight in all of part 3. That episode is good. I hate Iggy, but that episode is so good.
I like how Pet Shop killed like 4 dogs, or at least the 2.
Oh yeah, he straight murders those dogs. Wait a second, a dog and JoJo dying. Color me surprised.
Color me surprised.
I don't know what happened to Aragi, but.
Yeah, who hurt you, man?
Like I was hurt by a dog, but I don't want to kill every dog.
It's actually, he really likes dogs, and the whole point is he wants to his shorthand for someone being evil is to just have them kill a dog, like because everyone likes dogs. So if they kill a dog, you're like, oh, they're the bad guy.
That is not like, the impression I got.
No, he doesn't hate dogs. It's just it's his shorthand for like that guy's a dick.
The one video by Jellopocalypse where there's a dog and then he immediately dies.
Yeah.
Oh.
He had some like childhood trauma against dogs, and he's just like, you know what? I'm gonna write a manga in 20 years that's gonna be super popular and just kill a dog every page.
That's what I should do. My face was bitten by a dog and I had to go get like stitches and things. I don't remember it, but it seems like inspiration for something Aragi would do.
That is true pettiness.
Just write your own shonen manga where a dog dies, every other page.
Wait, speaking of shonen, we're supposed to be talking about why we don't like JoJo.
We've been talking about why we do like it. We need to talk more shit about
the
show.
We gotta talk about why we don't like... Wait, was this about not liking JoJo or not liking shonen in general?
I mean, what's the difference? But
if we do move on to shonen, I just want to say that I have an idea for a stand.
Okay, oh God!
I don't have any sort of powers like that. I would think I have off the top of my head, but I really want a stand that's called Soldier Boy, and his ability is called Crank Dat.
Is that all? That's all. You don't care what the powers are, just, as long as those two things exist.
It would probably be something like sound bass or something. Like he could like crank that Soldier Boy,
crank the hog,
and make like super sound waves, and it, you know, breaks glass.
What if he was really good at
send it off as a projection?
Torque, like cranking actual levers, like literal cranking.
It's just like so that's his really stand. It's just a bunch. He has levers all over his body. Like he doesn't ever use them. They're just there. That's my stand idea. Rocky, you can have that one for free.
Copyright.
He can't use that yet though because he hasn't gotten to late enough in the 2000s because it stops at what 2001. I think 2002.
Has he used bands and things from later? Well, he had to have, because Part 1 did. Part 1 was like in the 1800s.
Oh, yeah.
Turn of the century or something.
That's true. I think those are more references at that point, though, because, like,
they're all
obviously, yeah, but I mean, more like...
Everything's a JoJo reference.
Just references towards his taste in music. But then it seems like for the later parts, their stand names, especially, like, parts 3 and 4 and 5, like, the stand names being... bands and artists, like it's supposed to match the time period that they're in.
I suppose, yeah.
So like part 3 has a lot of 80s artists because you know they're in the 80s. It makes sense. And then
the 80s? Then it was 99 or something. 97.
Yeah, and then part 4 is the 90s, and then I guess part 5 kind of sort of is like 90s.
Part 5 is 2001.
Yeah.
Speaking of references, you want to talk about how everything's a JoJo reference and JoJo references everything? It's the paradox.
I will say, we have the whole meme of like, is that a JoJo reference? And like, it gets really annoying. But it is also like, as someone who didn't, you're right, it never gets old. But as someone who hadn't watched JoJo before, going and watching that show and then coming back to the internet later and realizing, oh my God, that was a joke. That was from JoJo. Like just like all these things clicking into place of like, oh my, literally all of these things are JoJo references. I did not realize it was that bad.
Yes, hence the meme. Everything is a JoJo reference.
The thing that got me the most, and I was telling Tip about this the other year or something.
The other year?
Yeah. So Persona Q was this Persona is a spin-off of a spin-off of a spin-off or whatever, but the Persona 3 and 4 characters come together, and when I think the Persona 4 characters come in to meet the Persona 3 characters, they do all JoJo poses, like blatant JoJo poses, and it threw me for a loop just to see it in a video game or something like that.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, because you did like Joseph, and then it was like Chie did like Jonathan's, like they did like you showed me that screenshot.
They were blatant JoJo poses too, and I wasn't expecting it, and I didn't. That's before I watched JoJo though, and I had to go back and like look at it.
It's everywhere.
It is everywhere.
It really is everywhere.
I guess they're both like anime things though, so it's not that surprising, but it still caught me.
I think about how much we see it here, and I wonder, like, how much more of it is in Japan. Like, do they obsess over JoJo even more than we do?
Or mostly anime or manga or whatever.
I mean, a lot of the references, he just talked about Persona Q, like that's
that's anime essentially.
JRPG, like that's a JRPG, like it's so well known enough to be put into Persona Q, or like you'll see a bunch of shows reference like the poses all the time, especially like from part 4 with the finger in the air. They'll do the re-Dio thing like all the time. Like, so obviously it's popular enough and well known enough that they'll just put it in the random anime at all times.
Well, I went to that what's that one store? It's like a pop culture store. It has a bunch of nerdy stuff in it though. It's like Second and Charles, I think it was called. and like they just have like the entire JoJo manga on display on the very front display thing. So it's like it's super popular.
Yeah,
it's one of the most.
Do we know if it's like
right behind like Dragon Ball and Naruto?
Yeah. Good question though. I actually don't know.
It's all shonen.
How widespread like. Because you can go onto the internet for anything like Western, like where that's like the States or Europe, and like you see JoJo references everywhere. But I don't know, but like, do you see a lot of JoJo references for like Japanese message boards or like Japanese like meme boards? Like, is it just everywhere? Does it infest the entire Japanese internet?
I'm sure.
That's
I'm
a
sure
good question. I don't know.
Boards. Absolutely. The whole menacing thing, you can put menacing on anything.
Oh, that's true.
The little, you know what I mean?
Go.
Yeah, that's it. You speak.
That's the same. Like I can
movements.
translate that. Yeah. No, we know we are supposed to be talking crap about JoJo.
All right, yeah. Talk crap about it. Give me reasons why it's bad.
It's bad for two reasons. And the first is going to sound really bad because it's going to sound really gatekeepy because it is. But JoJo used to be really niche, and seeing the references was just like the wink and a nod to like, oh hey, you know what I'm talking about, like yeah, go, or like re, or like someone doing like the finger in the air point, like oh I see you're a fellow man of culture. And it got to the point where JoJo was now so oversaturated that like everyone knows things about JoJo. Like the community is just obnoxious at this point where it's like, oh it's a JoJo reference. It's like not everything is a JoJo reference. So like the community started out so niche and has gone completely to the opposite direction of JoJo is now like one of the most mainstream popular anime franchises possible. And it feels almost like kind of corporate now, or like it's so mainstream that like the community doesn't feel as fun. Which obviously isn't like a knock towards the show or the manga itself, because Araki couldn't deal with that. That's not his fault. But just everything surrounding it as a whole now feels less genuine, I guess, or just less fun.
So yeah, no knock to the show, because I think I've enjoyed it a ton in the beginning, and then just slowly have started losing interest over time. But yeah, it's definitely even in the manga, it started to feel kind of formulaic, especially with the stand stuff. And like you were saying, enemy of the week, monster of the week, whatever, it kind of feels more standard shonen, whereas in part 2 especially, it kind of was unique in the sense that Jotaro was, or not Jotaro, Jonathan was, or Joseph. Jeez.
There's so many.
Joseph was kind of like, he wasn't like a stereotypical like good guy like Goku was or something. He wasn't like a happy-go-lucky
He's
guy.
kind of a scumbag.
He was kind of a scumbag and sleazy. The dude cheats on his wife and stuff, and it kind of makes him more, I guess, not relatable, but like real. Like, yeah, he has flaws, and he's kind of a scumbag.
And like we're talking, mentioning how it's gotten formulaic because parts 3, 4, 5, and so far as I've read 6 have all kind of been formulaic. Introduce a stand, you fight the stand, you kill them or you befriend them, and then eventually we get to the end and it's big and bombastic, and that's probably the best part of the whole arc. And I think that's that's why I'm like excited about 7 and 8, because it just sounds like those are so incredibly different from everything else.
Well, from what I know, 7 is like literally like a race across the United States, which seems pretty cool as a premise. Yeah. Or something like the Steel Ball Run is what they call it.
The Steel Ball Run, yeah.
With the president, Mr. Valentine, or whatever they call him.
Yeah, and then part 8, like
Part 8 is like a
I can't even like
4. It's like an alternate.
Yeah, I couldn't even tell you what part 8 is, because every time I look into it, I'm like, what? I feel like I just have to read it at this point to understand.
It's also Josuke, but he's like a little sailor boy for some reason. He doesn't like resemble Josuke at all, from what I've seen. I haven't read anything of it.
Yeah,
he's in this cute little sailor outfit, like he's.
And he's got green lips.
Well, the colors aren't canon. The colors are never canon.
Colors aren't.
No, really, the colors are like not canon.
Yeah.
That's why they have so many color schemes in the show, because they're like,
the sky
they
really
kind of like a
yellow
default, and then in part 4 the default sky is yellow, which I like.
Either yellow or
I think
pink.
that's cool.
Are you saying the sky is in yellow? If you looked outside right now.
So sometimes, have you seen like the sky? The sky outside turns red sometimes, like Oblivion sky, like Elder Scrolls 4, like an Oblivion gates popping up out of the ground. I love it when that happens.
You mean sunset? It's generally what that's called.
No, but like sometimes it's more red than usual. It's like a super red.
Just
double red. Have you not seen that?
I have seen that. Yeah, it's just the way you described it. Like, yeah, sometimes the sky turns like red or something. Super scary, my guys. There's a demon invasion.
Okay, no, it's not like it just turns red. It's like it turns red and then it like emits like red fog or aura or whatever around everything. I don't know how to explain it. I sound crazy now.
Yeah, just a bit.
That'll be a good topic for another week. Ranting about sky. At least for you and me, Tip. Ranting about Elder Scrolls.
Oh God, we were already talking about JoJo and how it's actually bad, but like kind of good, but not.
I don't think that'll happen with Elder Scrolls.
Elder Scrolls, we'd have to be like, oh, people love the Elder Scrolls. We can't talk shit about that.
Yeah,
oh yeah,
a lot of people
definitely.
like Elder Scrolls 5, and we're not part of that group.
Yeah, but we gotta save that. We gotta save that vitriol for later.
This is very. We have some hot takes on this this podcast.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
all
my
are correct, of course, because they're coming from the voice on the computer, so it has to be right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The disembodied voices are never wrong.
Isn't that what God is? Just a disembodied voice telling you what to do?
So we're three gods. Opinions. It's only facts.
Then God appeared and he said, "JoJo is bad,"
and then just dipped.
Then he did.
No, but I like JoJo. I don't think JoJo is bad. I think it's the best out of the shonens for sure.
I say JoJo's bad, but like there's only like one other thing that's ever made me go and be like, I'm gonna read the manga. So like,
yeah, it's weird.
Got something going for it.
They have a lot of weird, wacky tropes.
Yeah,
but I guess they don't really have too many. They don't go with the tropes too much. They're weird and wacky.
JoJo has like kind of created its own tropes, and that in and of itself has become kind of annoying. But it doesn't follow like this like.
Well, that's what Dragon Ball Z did, and now everybody who bashes Dragon Ball Z, cough, Tip, criticizes it for. So
we watched it, man. And
okay, yeah, it's slow.
The show is just slow. Like, what's the Dragon Balls? Gotta get the Dragon Balls. Make the wish. Oops, the wish was bad.
Stupid Dragon Balls. So what else was out in like 1980 something when Dragon Ball came out? Original OG Dragon Ball, not Z.
It's not a real year. 1980 didn't exist. Nothing was out. Dragon Ball was the creation of everything.
Never mind. Oh, I thought you're joking with me. I almost believe you for a second. No.
Yeah, no. In the beginning, there was nothing, and then Dragon Ball.
The 80s.
Toriyama is actually God. He created the universe with Dragon Ball.
The 80s were the beginning of the universe.
Yes.
When did JoJo first start coming out? When was that?
What do you mean coming out? Manga?
Like the manga, I believe.
That has to be.
I believe. No, that should be the. 90s? I think it's like mid 80s. Hang on,
that's pretty late or pretty early.
1987 is when it started.
For the manga, right? When did the Dragon Ball manga come out?
Dragon Ball. Let's see. Come on, tell me, internet. You've got this. Dragon Ball started 1984, so 3 years difference.
Really, only 3 years.
Oh, sorry, no. Basically 2 years difference because Dragon Ball is December of 94 or 84, and JoJo was January of 87. So that's just over 2 years.
That's kind of wild.
It is pretty close.
But then Dragon Ball hopped on the anime train kind of really early. What other animes came out during that time?
That is a great question.
I would look it up, but if I start looking stuff up, you'll hear a ton of clicking on my keyboard.
Gosh, Ghost in the Shell is I think that started in the 90s.
Ghost in the Shell was that early? Jeez. Well, I mean, I know it was 90s.
For the anime, at least. I think that's early 90s.
I'm just gonna look up 80s anime.
Just trying to think off the top of my head. Yeah, it's 95. Other than that, man.
My Neighbor Totoro was 88.
Oh,
Akira.
Yeah, Akira. Yu Yu Hakusho also.
Yu Yu Hakusho was 80s?
Wasn't it?
No.
Wasn't it like late 80s, early 90s?
No way. A Fist of the North Star was Yu Hakusho.
It says
No, that had to be
92.
90s.
It says 92. So.
Astro Boy would have been like 80s too, yeah.
Well, isn't Astro Boy supposed to be like the prototypical anime? Like that's what started anime. Hang on, no, that was in the 80s. Wasn't that like the 60s? No, hang on. I gotta look that up now.
Something's wrong. I can feel it.
I just looked up. According to the Wikipedia, there's a 1980s TV series. I don't know if there were more. The manga came out in like 1951, so yeah, it's old.
Yeah, original anime was 1963. That's what I thought. Because I thought it was like
the first Dragon Ball was 1986. So I mean, for 1986, I gotta say I gotta give it a lot of credit because, I mean, at least it's kind of interesting. I mean, now when you have so much things to watch, you don't have time to sit and binge 100-something episodes of something where half of it's 99% of it's filler. But like for the time, it was pretty cool with the whole like dude powering up from a kid growing up.
Yeah.
But yeah.
It doesn't matter though, because all anime is bad.
All anime is bad though, yeah.
Without a doubt.
And that's the theme of this podcast is we don't
It's
think anything is really good. There's like one anime that's good, or a couple anime that are good. It's like Steins Gate and like Durarara.
Gurren Lagann.
Gurren Lagann, yeah. But like it's rare that we actually like something.
Oh.
Even though I'll binge JoJo any day.
I suppose say I'm like we've watched it so many times. Part 3 specifically, which kills me because again that's the part I don't like, and it's the one I've seen the most because that's the one that everyone always wants to watch. It kills me.
That's when it got popular. That's when people started getting introduced to it.
Well, it's because the when it originally started airing, it was just parts 1 and 2. When that like the original showing, I believe it was just parts 1 and 2, and then when they did like the reboot, part 1 and 2 got rebooted. People were like, yeah, that's cool, whatever.
The reboot was part 3, or the original was part 3.
Oh, was it
from the 90s or early 2000s or whatever that was? It was the Egypt portion of part 3.
Oh, I thought they had done parts 1 and 2 as the original adaptation.
Maybe
I think there was a movie for part 1 at least.
Yeah.
No, maybe.
I don't know about part 2. I've seen memes about like the movie version of part 1. I could be totally off base though.
Yeah, we're not professionals.
We never watched it, so might as well not exist.
We're just here to rag on it. We're not here to know anything about it.
Yeah. Yeah, it was part 3, a 13-episode run, from 93 to 94. For JoJo. So
Riveting.
I know, super great.
It wasn't even the entire arc.
Nope, just 13 episodes, and assuming that there's like 11,200 fights.
It did spawn a bunch of like fighting games though, or at least one on the SNES, I think. And apparently it's whatever game that is. It's
I've seen some like PlayStation 2.
There's a lot of JoJo games. You wouldn't know it. There's a lot of JoJo games. There's some Yu Yu Hakusho games too. There's a lot of licensed games for anime that you wouldn't think there are.
Aren't they basically Japan only though?
Nah, not necessarily. But I mean, yeah, a good portion of them are.
Apparently, there was a movie for part 1 that came out in 2007.
2007. Wow, that must have sparked interest for the new anime or something. I don't know. Speculating.
Yeah, that would have been right when or right before this like reboot happened. The reboot was 2000. I was gonna say 2010, 2011. Yeah.
I think that's what they did for Dragon Ball Super. They released the Battle of the Gods movie, and then they gauged interest. And apparently, I guess it did well enough to warrant an entire season to retell the entire movie.
Yay.
Which was, I mean, I wouldn't say disappointing, because I think the series was slightly better. if not slower. But they
I
kept
remember there
the
being a lot of
devil design,
controversy
and that's
because it
all
was
that matters.
poorly animated.
Wait,
Wow,
what's poorly
screenshots
animated?
from this movie look super weird. The Dragon Ball Super adaptation of the movie was poorly animated.
Oh,
I remember people being upset about that.
oh, no, you're right. Yeah, there's a screen cap of like his Super Saiyan 3 face being like literal like 4 pixels or something. Someone like drew a crayon on his face, and then that's what they used. Yeah, no, you're right.
Can't all
Maybe
be
it was the movie
winners.
that was better. Yeah, the movie had the sickest fight scene though. Did you we watched the movie together, right?
Yeah,
Right.
you and I watched Battle of the Gods.
The part where they're fighting and they like go into the earth and then they bust out and he doesn't realize that he's not like super anymore. It was awesome.
That was pretty great.
And they go into space or something crazy.
Wait a second.
And then they go into space.
Yeah, it's kind of basic, but
I thought we were only spoiling
that
JoJo.
shonen bone in me. What?
Aren't we only spoiling JoJo? Now we're spoiling Dragon Ball.
Oh shoot. That's also
Anyone who
like
hasn't
years
watched
ago.
that movie.
Well, everything we're talking about is years ago.
True. Gary, when are you going to watch part 5 of JoJo?
I actually
Did you say? Wait, did you say you were reading the manga?
I read part of the manga. I never finished it. I don't have the attention span to finish a manga.
Yeah, that's pretty much the same for me as well. But
JoJo's the only manga I was tempted to read, and I think that was I did part of like the very few chapters of part 5, and then part 6. No, I lied. I read the Pokemon manga as well, which is pretty good.
I think I read the Gen 1 Pokemon manga.
The
but
Gen
I
1
never
Pokemon
got
manga is really
that.
good. Then I stopped at Gen 2 because I feel like it would have been the same thing.
Yeah.
Just finished part 5.
You'll have to. Yeah, you gotta watch part 5, and then we'll come
Yeah,
back for our epic 2-parter.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe we'll do
JoJo
a
2. The
Yeah, 'cause I mean-
Revenge.
We're exhausting everything pretty much now.
From no, I mean, because once you watch part 5, we can spoil all of part 5. Because I want to
already
spoil
know
it
the
now.
end of part 5. Requiem, gold experience Requiem, where he deletes reality or whatever, or the past. Or
See, try to get any JoJo fan to explain what the hell Giorno does, and they can't do it.
I had part 5 spoiled for me because not because I saw it online, but because I played that fighting game, one of the newer fighting games,
right.
Eyes of Heaven, and then I was playing, I'm like, cool, Giorno's really cool. I can't wait for the anime to come out. Let me play him a little bit, and then his like ultimate or whatever is Gold Experience Requiem. I'm like, oh, that's kind of a cool thing. I wish I didn't know that.
It's like his super. He straight up just uses the exact same ability that he uses at literally the last episode, and they're just like, yep, let's spoil it. Why not?
I mean, to be fair, it spoils, I think, everything from the entire series, because they have Johnny from Steel Ball Run, and then they have Jolin, and they have...
Oh my god, they even have the turtle. They have the turtle because it's how you get all the party members together in that game.
They do have the turtle.
Wow. You know what? Yeah, the game does spoil literally everything.
It spoils a lot. It is meant for the manga folk.
Yeah.
It is not meant for the anime fan.
For the
Even
the
though that's
super
probably the main
tryhard.
selling point. It was an
No,
alright game.
It was.
Not that. It was one of those fighting games that wasn't really a fighting game. It was more just kind of like a spectacle fighter, I guess I would call it. You press buttons and they do funny stuff, but there's not really too much strategy to it.
Maybe you just need to get good.
Yeah, or that. No, there are strategies and things. I looked it up, but like it's nothing I would want to really get into. Plus, there's no fan base.
You just insulted the entire
I know I did.
Eyes
I'm
of Heaven
sorry.
competitive scene.
That's probably
all
the
of
people
them.
that are watching this too. The people who
All
are really
three
into
of them
JoJo
are
who
upset.
have played that.
Yeah. All three fans.
I enjoyed it. I thought it was a really funny fanficky thing where they go around, they collect everybody, and they just have fanficky fun lines to say to each other, like they did with Jump Force.
Yeah, but people hated that. So
People hated Jump Force. Well, that's because their fanfic was literally meet guy, fight guy, friend guy.
wasn't the gameplay also kind of trash?
Isn't that the plot of JoJo?
Wait a minute. All anime is bad. Oh no!
All shonen. It's
All
the guy
shonen's
who
bad.
beats a guy who fights a guy.
What genre is good?
Which genre?
Anime genre. Yeah. Don't say slice of life.
I was gonna say like thriller, like crime thriller or sci-fi thriller, because when people talk about like the good
thriller,
anime,
sci-fi thriller. Give me an example.
So like Steins Gate or Ghost in the Shell
I guess that
or
is
Akira.
sci-fi thriller.
Those are all like
Yes,
crime thrillers and sci-fi thrillers. Like those are generally the things that people unironically will say like this is just good. Like it's like 9 out of 10. This is all really excellent stuff. Watch it.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
I think that setting, the general setting that they use for that would get old with me. But like Steins Gate kind of takes it in a different direction, which I like.
Yeah.
Because they're just like some people in like this crummy apartment working on microwave experiments or whatever.
That poor banana.
Yeah.
No,
Someday we'll talk about all of our most favorite anime genre being the magical high school.
The magical high school genre.
Yeah.
And the irregular people that are in it.
Excuse you. You're forgetting a
All
very
the irregular
component, Ryan. It's not just a magical high school genre. It's the magical high school harem genre.
Wait, we need to talk
you're
about
right.
isekai.
You forgot the harem.
We just said that we're going to talk about magic high school harem genre. That's isekai. Come on.
Oh, that is isekai. I thought isekai was dude generally, generic dude stuck in virtual fake fantasy world and harem.
Harem is fantasy, Gary. That's why it's
Yeah.
an isekai. No, you're right. That is what an isekai is.
You're delusional.
I was just being facetious, but that's like the actual correct thing for isekai.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's like the actual trash though. Like we were supposedly ragging on JoJo, but that's what we should really be ragging on.
No, hang on. Okay, so if you already have parts of part 5 spoiled, then I'll just talk about some of it.
Yeah, talk about
But the
it.
reason, so there are people who, when they hear the negatives of part 3, they'll look at part 5 because part 5 kind of does the same thing that part 3 does, where the JoJo crew kind of just like meets a dude. Obviously, that dude is a stands. They're like, oh, what's a stand do? They find out what it does. They beat him. Cool, hunky dory. Let's move on to the next episode. My issue lies with the fact that for part 3, they do this too often because the part 3 is what, like 50 episodes long, and that just takes too long to have anything happen. And most of the fights boil down to none of these people are useful except Jotaro. So they're like, oh, there's a new stand. We don't know what to do. Everyone gets their asses handed to them. Oh, Jotaro comes up. Yara, punches a dude, and they win. Great,
It's
awesome.
Aura, not yeah.
I would
Oh, yeah,
argue
about- no,
Arara
this
is
is-
pretty useful.
Yara does it all the time.
And then he goes Aura.
Yeah. So that happens all the time, and that's basically all of part 3. Congratulations, I spoiled all of part 3 in one sentence. Part 5
No.
also does this, but they have each character fight someone, and they each use their stands in a different way. So, you know, Bujarati does something, Giorno does something, Mista does something. So they all use all the different stands. Actually, I can't use Mista as a good example because he just shoots. But they all have their own fights, and they all think through their own interesting solutions to those fights. And there's less episodes, so it doesn't feel as formulaic. So each character gets, let's say, 3 or 4 fights throughout the season. Meanwhile, all 50 episodes of part 3, it's like 35 episodes, or Jotaro winning, like 6 episodes or 5 episodes of Polnareff winning, and like 1 episode each for the other people. Like they get the table scraps.
Polnareff was the favorite second, at least if you're counting second place. It was Polnareff.
Watching through part 3 again, it felt like Polnareff was the actual protagonist of the show.
Kind of is.
He gets like, I mean, Jotaro just kind of
others.
stands stoically all the time. Polnareff actually like speaks and does things.
Yeah, that's my problem with Jotaro. Jotaro doesn't really have too much of a character.
I'm glad you guys
I
said
feel
that.
like
Because
that's like I know that's one of your big gripes because John.
No.
coming.
I was going to say, because that's my other thing with like comparing parts 3 and part 5, because when people say Jotaro isn't a character, like he doesn't have any like character development, he doesn't do anything, that's literally the exact same complaint that people have for Giorno in part 5.
Giorno doesn't have any character either. Yeah.
Which is true. And again, it's because there's so much less of part 5, it's hard to hate it because you just don't get tired of it. There's half of it. Half as much part 5 as part 3. So the same complaints you have for part 3 are also in part 5, but since there's only half of it, it just doesn't bother me as much.
That's a very good point. That's a very, very good point. Part 4, Josuke has a lot of character and personality.
Oh, he's very fun.
Yeah, he's like a school punk who cares about his hair, and like that's about it. He's like looks and things. And then Jonathan
blew my mind?
Personality, and just not Jonathan. Frick, Joseph. I mix them up all the time for some reason, and I know them so well. But Joseph oozes personality, and then Jonathan is just like he's like the honorable guy that you have to compare the rest of the JoJos to when they start becoming more punky.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jonathan definitely is like I feel like he was a good start just because he was like an inherently just good person, I guess. So there was like you have this like weird comfort, and even though you like see Jotaro as like a weird delinquent-esque high schooler in jail or whatever, it's like you know that the Joestars are always good people because they come from Jonathan, who was like seemingly infallible. But
I mean, I think it's only good because they only had him for 7 episodes. If they had it in like a 24 episode arc, I think he would have gotten boring real quick.
Oh,
he wouldn't have lasted as long.
It was also really funny that he was built like a tree trunk. And then the Joestars slowly got more and more scrawny as time went on.
Yeah, they do get leaner.
I don't know who was bigger, Joseph or Jotaro. I think Jotaro just had a bigger coat, maybe. But they were about this. They were kind of similar. Jonathan was huge. The dude was giant, and then Josuke's not that big, and then Giorno's like a scrawny anorexic guy.
Well, he's still more fit than I am. He needs
to eat some fagoli.
He needs to have the pasta. One of the things from part 4 that I still am scratching my head on was there was a part where Josuke, because we were talking about his hair earlier, where he's reminiscing about his whole look, and he like designed his whole look around like some mysterious person who like saves him and his mother from like a snowstorm while they're like stuck in their car. You remember that?
Yeah.
And that just never gets brought up again. I was waiting. When they showed that, I was like, okay, so JoJo, spoiler alert, loves time travel. We're gonna get some bullshit where Josuke goes back in time to that snowstorm and he saves himself.
Do they like time travel?
Have you noticed that every villain from parts 3 onwards are all about time?
Well, time stopping is not time travel, really. I mean, I guess it is, but
kind of.
There's time shenanigans, I should say.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, duh. The whole thing with time travel in part 4, duh.
Yeah.
Duh.
Yes. There's lots of time
shenanigans. The coolest thing though was the last intro where he rewinds it.
Oh my god,
that blew my mind. One of my
super hype, unironically, really hype.
Oh shit, we didn't talk about intros. No, JoJo intros and outros are like the best part of the entire thing. I wish more intros and outros were like unique like that. Like actually using songs and not made up anime garbage. No, I'm kidding. But
I listen to one of the endings from part 5 like all the time, just because it's
was that the one where it wants to like rock your body and love you or something like that?
I could find the song. It's the one. It's the second one where it's like slowly scrolling up like a pillar, and as you progress through the show, like they add the stands from the show to the pillar.
That's cool. Yeah. The thing that irks me is the second intro of part 4 where it turns into a generic anime opening, and it's like for a generic anime opening it's a good opening, but
everyone
like
hates it.
For a JoJo opening I wouldn't have it. I want weird garbage.
I want that weird stuff.
Everyone hates that opening. I like that opening. I
see a lot of people that like it.
So the opening itself is actually kind of bad, like the animation and everything, but that song I can't remember who the artist is, but that song slaps, and I have it on a YouTube playlist.
It's a good song, but I want crazy, noisy, bizarre town.
That's true, yeah.
Or break it down.
I didn't realize he was Russian.
Take the juki breaky. Yeah. Give me your hands. And then the is the rewind time.
Well, obviously, yeah.
Boom.
Well,
Part 5's got some slaps. I really like the music in Part 5. That was like... I mean, I like the music in JoJo, but yeah. But Part 5 was the point where I was like, maybe I should start listening to this stuff more.
Yeah.
I like that I found real songs to listen to. Not real songs, but like Western songs to listen to.
It was called Modern Crusaders. That was the name of the song I was talking about. Ironically.
Yeah.
Well, Modern Crusaders, and the part that doesn't have Crusaders in the name.
Well, they're missed opportunity.
Yeah. They're not Stardust Crusaders, they're Modern Crusaders.
But yeah, I gotta say, JoJo opening endings are like my second favorite right behind Durarara. Durarara, every single opening and ending is a banger.
They're really good.
They're all fantastic.
That'd have to be a separate episode. I'm not gonna lie. Just talk about openings and anime, or openings and endings, because I could talk about those.
Yeah, what's good, what's bad.
Yeah,
just generally you guys skip openings, and I like to watch openings. I generally skip endings, but I like watching openings.
We only skip them because it skips about a minute and a half per episode, and we're watching like 3 or 4 episodes in a row. Yeah, but if it's something I really like,
on the opening.
Yeah,
I will not skip a Durarara opening. I won't skip Steins Gate openings or endings. No. The freaking butterfly song at the end of Steins Gate, fantastic. Hacking through the gate, 10 out of 10.
10 out of 10.
Can't chastise us for trying to get more time out of our binges. You mean
Gary wants us to watch the openings on the garbage
what are you
magical high school horror man days animes we're watching.
Yeah.
So, Rising Hope though was actually I liked Rising Hope a lot as an opening. The first season of a regular.
Yeah, no, it was bad.
No.
It was bad. We skipped it.
We're not talking about a regular.
Okay, we're not talking about that. That's actually a bad show, but
yeah,
we're not talking about that.
Gary can defend his honor next time.
Okay, I'm not trying to defend anything. I'm trying to defend the art of music, not the art of pixels on a screen.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
Have we? I don't know if we've sufficiently explained why we hate JoJo, but simultaneously love it.
Let's get one more round of trying to bash JoJo before we call the end here.
Call it an episode, yeah. How about you start, Grep?
Okay, so biggest thing I don't like about JoJo, I guess we already talked about it. The formulaicness. I like all the Stan's unique abilities, and I wish they would use them more to unique and fun effects, which they just don't seem to do. And get rid of the formula, make it more story driven, like Part 2, because that one's really, really good. And then Part 4 was a lot of fun, but again suffered from a lot of the formulaicness. And if they just tied all the friends together at the end, I think it would have wrapped it up in a nice clean bow and would have put it as my favorite. Yeah. What do you think, Ryan?
I would say my biggest issue is just I hate filler so much.
Yeah. Especially in a binge culture.
Oh my God.
Like,
yeah.
Nothing fills me more than getting to the end of an arc and just being like, why did I watch? What was that for? What did we do?
Why are we here?
And JoJo has a very, and JoJo really has like, like you watch the start and then usually something important happens in the middle, like in Part 3 you get Iggy. So if you just watch the beginning and the end, you'd be like, well, who's this dog? Where did it come from?
It doesn't really matter. He kind of just that's kind of what happens though. He kind of just comes out of nowhere.
At least, but in the middle, they at least like introduce them. If we want to be like, okay, these are the Stardust Crusaders. Iggy's one of them, whether you like it or not. You watch the start, you watch the middle, and you watch the end. And I mean, even Part 5's kind of like that, because in Part 5 you have the middle where like they decide to betray the boss and like go on their own, do their own thing.
Yeah.
And Part 4, the middle part was like when they start really highlighting.
The killer. Well, they don't even show the killer till the halfway point.
Yeah, and he kills the fat kid.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a weird sequence. I watched that kind of recently.
Yeah, so
that's
like
really a whole episode of him hiding and then almost getting away, and then like them like, hey, oh, what are we doing in here in the gym locker room? Eating lunch. Here, wait my sandwich.
and then he dies anyways.
Then he dies.
Spoilers.
You made it out at the end, and then he dies anyway.
Did delete this.
Yeah, but that's really my just. I mean, the filler can be fun, and there are some fun filler arcs, but a lot of times it does. You do get to the end, you're like, why did I watch that? I mean, Paul and Arf licking a toilet was pretty funny, but like, I didn't need 2 episodes of that. You know,
the problem with the filler is, it's not binge watching is not made to be used on filler.
Yeah,
because you'll get sick of it real quick, even if it's good.
Yeah, and I think I've been like, from what I've read of Part 6. Part 6 still has like Monster of the Week kind of formula, but
I'm sure it does.
But each part at least feels like it's like at least feeding a little bit close, like more into the narrative. You know, like it. I don't think that I've gotten. There's probably been an arc or two where I've read that and been like, oh, that got us nowhere. But most of the time, there is at least like something where it's like, oh, that actually meant something because now we're at this point, or this thing just happened that was kind of important.
Yeah,
it's probably
part
still
of Part 5 at least, because in the beginning they're like going, they get the thing, and they're on the boat and they're going to that island. Details are fleeting me, but you know.
Yeah, the beginning of Part 5 has stuff going on, but once they get the daughter, then it kind of starts feeling fillery to get her to
the math daughter.
Yeah, to get her to the island, and then once they decide to betray the boss, then it becomes kind of fillery to get to the point where they actually find him. So, yeah, that's really just filler. Just
all right, Tip.
Less of that.
Wrap us up.
I mean, you've heard me complain about JoJo before. It's the filler, the formulaicness, and then that kind of gets wrapped up in just how mega popular the franchise has become, that it's so popular that it can't do those things. They can't deviate because that's what made it popular, and it gets just kind of old and kind of weird, which is especially strange because it's called JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, and it's become so fillery and so formulaic that it sometimes doesn't feel bizarre.
It lost its uniqueness.
It loses some of its magic, which is kind of a bummer because it shouldn't have. And the show and the franchise in general is just really fun and unique, and for it to lose that magic, for it to lose that uniqueness is just kind of a shame. And then
and
unrelated, but it just it's also because of the popularity and like because everyone knows what it is. I don't want people to start watching JoJo just because they hear it's popular. Just because you hear that JoJo was a thing and you see the memes, like you want to be in on the meme culture, you may not necessarily like JoJo. Like it's weird, it's super anime, and people are like, "Oh yeah, if you know what a meme is, here, watch JoJo." Stop telling people to just watch JoJo because it's not it's such a niche thing still. It only is popular because of anime culture as a whole is becoming more popular. But like if you just tell some random person to watch JoJo, they're gonna think you're an idiot. So please stop doing that. Just stop recommending the show to literally everyone.
You heard it here, folks. Those are the facts.
They are facts.
Yeah. So yeah, hopefully none of you are offended by our hot, not so hot takes.
Lukewarm at best.
They're lukewarm. You know, they're not the most popular, but I think they're not like hipster grade opinions. Like we still all enjoy JoJo to some extent. So
yeah, you've been baited.
Yeah, you've been baited with the title.
Baited.
Kind of.
Oh yeah.
Because I still love JoJo. Is still one of my favorite franchises, I would say, like of all time.
You say, even though I haven't watched Part 5.
I don't have problems with it.
Yeah.
But yeah, all right. So next time we'll think of something else to bash, something else to make you not want to watch again.
Something we'll say we're gonna trash, and then we'll actually talk about why we like
it. Probably Pokemon or something. That's a good one.
Oh, that's a good hot take.
That's turning into like not a hot take though.
If that's true, that's sad.
But we'll save that for next time.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye. This was fun.
Goodbye.